Namaskar. I am Dr. Basudha. With me, my co-anchor Dr. Arpita are welcoming you our special Sunday night show in Think Tank India. Arpita is a research associate in India, and we have a special guest in our show tonight, Professor Jeffery D. Long. And this is the second time Professor Long is joining us. And today we'll discuss with him about a special topic of today, Ma Sarada's influence on Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda and Sister Nivedita. Because yesterday was Ma Sarada's birth anniversary. So, Professor Long, welcome to our channel. So,
Namaskar.
Professor Long, Namaskar, Namaskar. Professor Long, my first question to you. Who- How Ma Sharoda became the Janani Ma or the eternal mother to the all Hindu commoners, not all the Hindu commoners, all Indians you can say.
Hmm. Yes, that's a wonderful question because she was. It's a most unexpected story because she was a ordinary person, right? She was a lady who came from a village from Jairambati in Bengal, and she did not aspire to have some great influence on the world. But the circumstances of her life led to that, and it became clear that she really had a great destiny far beyond what one might normally expect. And so, of course, we know that she was married to Sri Ramakrishna. Their marriage was arranged when she was very young. She didn't actually go and live with him until much later. And then when she was about 19, she moved to Dakshineshwar, though she still traveled frequently back to her home village. And in fact, after his passing, she lived in various places, but most of her life she was in Jairambati and living very simply. And I think that's the secret of her influence is that there's great wisdom in simplicity. And she exhibited such wisdom and such generosity in her life that everyone around her came to see her as mother and were greatly drawn to her. She had, in fact, according to researchers, over the course of her lifetime, more disciples than Sri Ramakrishna himself had when he was in his body, when he was alive. And so, why were so many people? What was her influence? Why were so many people drawn to her? Again, she exhibits all of the good qualities that we, I think, universally, whether you're in America like me, whether you're in India, people associate with motherhood. Her kindness, her unconditional love, and she could also instruct people. She could warn them quite sternly if they were on the wrong path, but always with love. And that's very compelling. That's a very powerful thing. And she in many ways you could say that the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, which they proclaimed to the world, she embodied, she lived it, and she manifested this in a way that made it very approachable. So many people came to her from all backgrounds, from different religious communities, wealthy and poor alike, and even people from outside of India, like Sister Nivedita, were drawn to the Holy Mother. So there's such a kindliness and warmth about her that it's almost impossible not to be drawn to her once you know anything about her. In fact, it's interesting. There is a scholar who is quite critical of our tradition, and he's written a book on Sri Ramakrishna, a book on Swami Vivekananda. He was very critical of both of them. Then he wrote a book about the Holy Mother, and he fell in love with the Holy Mother. He has not a bad word to say about the Holy Mother. She won him over. So this is the power of her wisdom, her simplicity, her kindness. Simply manifesting that in the world is a very powerful thing. And I think so often most of us, even if we're very kind, even if we show great compassion, uh, so rarely do we put our whole self into what we're doing, into our interactions with other people. When the Holy Mother met with someone, that person, it was as if they were the center of the universe, right? She put her whole attention on that person, her love and care, and she didn't turn anyone away. She was generous with everyone. And so I think there could be I can't imagine really a better image for the divine reality than that presence of unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. And so she really lived that and embodied that. And for many years, right? She of the what we call the holy trio, Sri Ramakrishna, Ma, and Swamiji, she lived the longest. She was the longest on earth, and she was with us till 1920. And in that time, just people flocked to her, and she, I think, really left a powerful imprint on the world. Also, she did a lot of what we would call behind the scenes work. It was not known at the time, but the Swamijis later wrote about it and talked about it. uh, every major decision undertaken by the Ramakrishna mission had her permission. Right? The Swami Vivekananda, when he was alive, then Swami Brahmananda, first president of the order, uh, the early monks who were in charge of the order at the beginning, they always took her permission or took important decisions to her. So she really was the person behind the scenes in charge in those early, very important formative years of the order. And I think it would not have taken the shape it did without her. And she always emphasized seva, right? Service. She wanted the monks to not only teach and practice meditation and do the things that monks traditionally did, she always emphasized the service to the poor and the work they did and continue to do, right? Hospitals, orphanages, educational institutions, these were the things that she emphasized. So it was bringing realization, bringing that into the world as a concrete practice, an embodied practice. That's what she emphasized. And we see that in print on the Ramakrishna Order to the present day. It's still the largest relief organization in India. And this, I think, is also due to a great extent to her influence. This was, of course, this was Swamiji's charge from the beginning, and it was based on the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. But when they were both gone, she ensured that that mission was carried out and continued. So we really owe her a great debt, and I think that more attention needs to be given to the Holy Mother. We speak a lot about Sri Ramakrishna, we speak a lot about Swami Vivekananda, and we should. There's nothing wrong with that, but we should not forget the Holy Mother. But without her, uh, this legacy would not be as great as it actually has been.
Sir, how she influenced Sri Ramakrishna in his religious life and faith?
How to increase it, or how to, or no, how did she influence it? Yeah. Oh, how
How
did she?
she influenced? She influenced, I want
Yes.
to say.
How did she influence Sri Ramakrishna's life and faith? Yes, I understand. So her influence was very profound. It came at a somewhat later period of his life because he had already done his famous sadhanas and he had achieved samadhi through various means, even before their meeting and much before her coming to Dakshineshwar. But she did exert an influence. Once she arrived at Dakshineshwar, of course, very, very famously, there's the story of how the Shodashi Puja, how he actually ritualistically worshipped the Holy Mother as the living manifestation of the goddess. And once she asked Sri Ramakrishna, "What do you think of me? How do you regard me?" And he said, "The same mother that bore this body, right, his biological mother, the same mother who is in the temple, right? So Ma Kali in the temple, that same mother is here with me now." So he saw her as the living manifestation of the goddess, and so he, um, in terms of her influencing him, I think it would have been a very subtle influence. It would have been as this living presence of the mother, living presence of the goddess that was there with him, helping sustain him right until the end. And she, of course, was caring for him when he got cancer at the end, and so she really helped to sustain him and keep him alive and present, and able to do the work that he did. I think there was also a great deal of influence the other way, of course. She was very young, and he taught her a great deal, not only about spiritual life, and they say one of the things that he taught her was the ability to transmit spiritual experience. Right, that this is something that very few people have. That through a gesture, through a thought, through a word, someone can have an experience. There's the famous story of how he passed on a spiritual experience to Swami Vivekananda when he was still the young Narendranath Datta, that he touched his heart, and then the whole world melted away. He taught the Holy Mother how to do that, and but he also taught her a lot of practical things, because he had the foresight, I believe, to know that she was going to be the one in charge of all of this once he was gone. And so he gave her a lot of practical knowledge as well. And I think the influence was probably more in the direction, the overt influence was of Sri Ramakrishna influencing the Holy Mother, but I think her influence on him was also present. It was very subtle, and it was that influence of helping sustain him in his work, and being that living presence of the mother for him all the time.
Sir, what was his relation with Swami Vivekananda? How she became his godmother and how she influenced
Yes,
him?
before Professor share his view, can I say share some religious belief and to
Sure.
you on? That is exactly opposite to you, you professor. That is my story of few years back. That I'm a hardcore Hindu background, and my mother is Brahmin Mukherjee, and my maternal places there Goswami, Vaishnavi, and Brahmin, and we are feel a bit conservative families from, but they are very liberal. My parents are very liberal, and but a few years back, for some reason, I started Bible study, and then I also attend the Sunday prayers, because and that was and I when I was teenage, I told my parents that in my family that I wanted to be converted in Christianity.
Mm,
That was not shocked for my shocking not for my family, because there's a lot of uh, colleagues, and my father's colleagues, and family members, they went, also they used to go the Christian parties, and Christmas parties, and they also used to come to my place. So we have a very family connection with them. So it was not like, oh, why? So they never asked me why.
mm,
And a few years back, when I really started Bible study, and I have been given from this New Testament,
hmm,
and this is also a Bengali book. Uh, and this is I started going some well-known churches in Kolkata for Bible
hmm,
study. And but I met few people. They are very kind to me. They're concerned about my religion, that I'm Hindu. They're very supportive, and I also met very unkind people, and they are also wanted me to convert it. But at the end, they literally blocked me from Facebook and other social sites, because I don't wanted that time. I don't want it to be, because that time I studied for my knowledge, and I think to know something is not that you have said before, that what Ramakrishna said about the belief of other religions.
Mhm.
So I think if you don't want to for any knowledge or something, and if you don't want to do from your heart, then nobody can change your mind. It's all
Hmm.
about mind.
Hmm.
So few I have gone through messages and news that the upcoming US election 2024, that the presidential election candidate Vivek Ramaswamy
Hmm.
was shared a very catchy notes about religious beliefs, that he said, quote unquote, that based on his religious belief, that I understand that every person is here for a reason, and it is our moral obligation to fulfill that reason, because God live within us, within each of us, even though God works through us in a various ways, and we are all equal.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm a Hindu, and I won't fake my identity.
Hmm.
That's I
Hmm.
find very catchy. And
Hmm.
also the Rishi Sunak, that
Yes, tell. Tell.
Mhm. So,
What
I,
happened, Arpita?
yeah, I'm not
Arpita was
sure.
want to say something about Rishi Sunak. What do you want to say?
no, I'm this is a
Arpita?
religious belief that Sanatana is a supreme beliefs, and that Rishi
Rishi
Sunak is
Sunak also
in UK,
in
you know.
UK.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
some people
He is
misunderstood
also
the things,
the
that
Hindu person and also
about the knowledge,
he
about
also
gain knowledge
declared
and
himself a Hindu.
conversion. This is both different. This is both different. If you want to know some religions belief, this is your personal. But those who want the some beliefs that you are going for Bible study, you are going to convert. So this is wrong way. So if you want to know something from your heart, this is totally different case, I think.
Yeah, studying something doesn't mean anything like conversion. I think we should study all religions, really. And
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
of course, that's my profession, teaching people
Because
about these
we
traditions.
live in a
So,
secular country. Because we live in a secular country. Yeah. So the most historical country, and we are proud to born in India.
mhm, mhm,
The most historical country. Yes.
mhm.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Hmm. Okay. So, should I return to the original question, or um, would you like me to say something
Yes,
about
I
that?
am telling the question. Yes,
Okay, so you were asking about the Holy Mother's relationship with Swami Vivekananda, right?
yes,
And
yes,
how
yes.
how she came to influence him and be the mother to him also. So yeah, all of the early disciples, the especially I'm thinking now of the monastic, the ones who would become the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. They were all very aware of the Holy Mother, right? Because she was there and present at Dakshineshwar. She out of modesty, she typically kept herself secluded. Most of the time, right when the male disciples were there, it was a more conservative time, and so she respected that and lived by that. But they were very aware of her, and then especially in the final days when he was at Kashipur, when he was suffering from throat cancer, she was there helping to care for him. And so the disciples, I think, got to know her better at that point and see the kind of compassion she exhibited. And they knew from Sri Ramakrishna's own teaching that he saw her as the Divine Mother. Right? So uh, that was when the relationship developed between Swamiji and, in fact, all of the early the monastic disciples and the Holy Mother. Then after Sri Ramakrishna's passing, when Swami Vivekananda he was in great despair after the passing of Sri Ramakrishna, and so he left to become a wandering sannyasi. He wandered the length and breadth of India, traveled to many places, and we know that it was during that time that he was inspired to go to America and spread the teaching of Vedanta here, so that people like me could appreciate it. So, Arpita, I'm sure you're very grateful that people have come to India and brought the Bible. I'm grateful to Swami Vivekananda for coming and bringing Vedanta to America. So, he again really
And sir, I am telling that I am very privileged. I have a
yes,
blood relation with Swami Vivekananda.
yes, that's wonderful. That is a great blessing. Yes, yes.
He was
And
the
Mhm.
maternal uncle of my
That is a wonderful connection.
maternal uncle of my
Uh-oh. I think her connection
Yes,
uh,
yes, you can carry
is
on. You
broken.
can carry,
Yeah, I think there was a
Professor.
Wi-Fi problem there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, for the people listening, the influence of Holy Mother on Swami Vivekananda was very profound because like Ramakrishna before him, he saw her as the living embodiment of the Divine Mother. And so, as I mentioned previously, he would go to her for permission, for her blessing, for the things he wanted to do with the Ramakrishna mission and the Ramakrishna order. And in fact, it's said that after he came back from America, he was. He was actually sort of nervous to meet her. And they say he bathed in the Ganga 3 times before he felt that he was worthy to come and meet the Holy Mother again. So he really looked up to her a great deal and saw her as a major authority in his life. And so, and again, this was just through her being who she was, right? Through her quiet presence, she was able to instill a very profound love and respect in the disciples of Ramakrishna, and of course, Swami Vivekananda being very prominent among them. And we know from some letters that he wrote that in fact, his devotion to the mother seems almost to have surpassed his devotion to Sri Ramakrishna. That he once wrote to a fellow disciple, he said, "You can say whatever you want about Sri Ramakrishna, but not the Divine Mother, right? Not the Holy Mother. She was very, very special to him." And this was not something he spoke about a great deal in America. I don't think that he. I think this was seen as something sort of a very personal kind of very deep relationship. But he would write and speak of it to his close associates. And we know that Sister Nivedita, for example, also coming from Ireland via England, would became a very close disciple of Swamiji, and she also was very close to the Holy Mother. And all of these introductions, all these connections were made by Swami Vivekananda. He thought it was important that people revere the Mother. So this was very important to him, and it was a very, very central aspect of his life. What
Professor,
did
have
you?
you visited Roy Villa? Have you visited Roy Villa in Darjeeling, where it is Sister Nivedita's historical place for Sister Nivedita, where cremation was
In
happened in
Darjeeling.
Roy Villa, Darjeeling?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I've unfortunately never
I
been to
went, but
Darjeeling.
it was closed.
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
I've unfortunately never been to Darjeeling. I've been to Belur a few times. I've been to Kolkata, but I have not made it to Darjeeling, unfortunately. Someday, hopefully.
actually, I went to Roy Villa, Darjeeling, the Sister Nivedita's place, but it was closed, unfortunately.
Uh,
So maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Yeah, no, she was
Yeah.
a wonderful, real hero of the movement, actually.
Yeah. This is a historical place for that cremation done in Roivilla, and
Yes, yes. I know at Bellermott they have the place, the cremation of Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda. They have temples there, and Swami Brahmananda. Those are all
hmm,
right there along the bank of the river. And I have a photo. It's on one of my Facebook photos. Is from I took on the from a boat on the river, looking back at the grounds there, and you can see those temples there. And of course,
yeah.
the big Sri Ramakrishna temple is there in the background as well.
Sister Nivedita died in 1931, I think, in
Yeah, I
Roivilla.
believe
I
so.
think
I
1911.
believe
Sorry,
so.
1911
Yes,
in
yes,
Roivilla. Yeah.
yeah. And she was important both for the Ramakrishna movement and for India's independence. She was a big supporter of India's
Yes.
independence.
Yes. Yeah. So, sir, Professor, I want to know that what was the Nivedita's relation with his relation with Sister Nivedita? How was she influenced her to become a social reformer educationist?
So, Sister Nivedita already had inclinations toward being an educator even before she met Swamiji. Right? She had trained at a Christian school in England, and she was becoming a school teacher. And then she met Swami Vivekananda, and that completely changed her life. And the entire course of her interest shifted to Vedanta. And she was one of the very few early Western disciples to take initiation into and become a sannyasini and into the fully into the spiritual life. You have people like me who are householders who've taken diksha, but there are also a lot of Westerners who are swamis and pravajikas in the Ramakrishna order. And she was one of the first. And she was someone who had a great admiration for the Holy Mother. The two of them met whenever the Holy Mother would come to Calcutta. It was difficult to meet in Jairambati because at that time, I think even more so than today, people were very caste conscious in the village where she was living. And she had no regard for that personally. She once said, I would like to feed everyone from the same plate. But in this country, people are too, obsessed with caste difference. So just to avoid trouble to herself by neighbors who would disapprove, she would not meet Sister Nivedita at home. But when they would meet in Calcutta, she could meet very easily. And there's a very famous photograph of the two of them together. And you can see there's a lot of affection between the two of them. And the other thing about that photograph I personally find somewhat amusing is their comparative stature. Sister Nivedita, I think, was relatively tall. The Holy Mother was not so tall. And the Sister Nivedita is sitting next to the Holy Mother, and she's towering over her. And it's a very sweet picture. You two of them are exchanging glances, and when the photograph is taken, the Holy Mother encouraged Sister Nivedita to actually open a school, the Ma Sarada Devi Girls' School, which is still open today, right? It's a very prominent educational center, and she established that. And the Holy Mother herself came from Jairambati and was present at the inauguration of that school. And so these two women did a tremendous amount to sort of carry on the vision of Sri Ramakrishna, of Swami Vivekananda, and their own vision, right? Their own understanding that women need education. The Holy Mother understood this, that if women don't get an education, very often they get married at a very young age, and then they immediately start having children, and if they're happy with that, they're happy with that. But if they wanted any kind of other future, it becomes very difficult. But when people have an education, especially young girls get an education, they see there are many possibilities. If they want to, get married, have family, maybe they can do that at a later time. But they should get their education and choose what they want to do with the world. And if women are not educated, half of humanity, we're missing out on their contributions and the things they could be doing to advance humanity. So the Holy Mother had this vision, and Sister Nivedita, their ideas coincided perfectly, and so they worked together to make this a reality. So the girls' school is still it's a major educational center to the present day in Bengal. And interestingly, a few years ago, I gave a talk, online talk like this for there's a Sister Nivedita College now at Delhi University, and so it was a women's college, and I was
Sister
asked.
Nivedita school also there.
Sorry.
Sister Nivedita school also there in Kolkata.
Yes, that's also there. That's also present. So she started several of these,
I
and
want to say in my days, 2 years I was also the student of that school. My first and
wonderful.
second standard, I was the student of that school also.
And you've ended up very well, so that's perfect.
It's total Ramakrishna.
So only for
Nivedita
2 years,
Vivekananda,
but I
they
was the
were
student of that school.
Yes, very good, very good. Yeah, so this was the big influence of the Holy Mother. Also, I think the Holy Mother, she was not political in the conventional sense, but she cared a great deal for the poor, and she really hated injustice of any kind. It pained her greatly to see the suffering of poor people and especially of women. And so she spoke about this privately. And I think this might have been one of the things that encouraged Sister Nivedita to also get involved in the Indian independence movement. I think Sister Nivedita's own background is significant there too, because she met Swamiji in London, but she was Irish herself. That's also, we were talking about Dr. Basudha's illustrious ancestry and connections with Swami Vivekananda and with Prabhupada. My own
Even she
background.
was also connected to Imam de Valera. She
Yeah,
was also
yeah,
connected to Imam de Valera.
When it
fantastic.
is said that it is said that when Swami Vivekananda
The
was in
father
Chicago,
of Irish
Yeah. Well, no. So
independence.
most of my ancestors were came from Ireland, and so Ireland suffered British colonialism before India did. Right. All the dirty tricks that they did in India, they tested first in Ireland. Right. And so the Irish people at that time were still under British control. So I think Sister Nivedita felt a great natural empathy with people in India. That this is another subject people. So she became involved in the independence movement. Sadly, this led her to have to have a bit of a separation from the Ramakrishna order, because the Ramakrishna order, Swamiji had sort of very firmly told them not to get involved in politics. This was not because he approved of British rule or anything like that, not at all. But if the order became involved in political activity, the British would have crushed it. Right? That would have been the end. And they would not have been able to do the good work that they were doing. So he said, we're going to focus on seva. We're going to focus on helping poor people and leave the politics to, other people. Leave the politics to Sri Aurobindo and Mahatma Gandhi. And, we're going to take care of the poor. And Sister Nivedita really felt drawn in the more political direction. And so she took that path. But I think, in my personal opinion, I think that was the right thing to do at that time, that someone from the order needed to take that stand and participate in independence. So I think that's also, we none of us were present when she and the Holy Mother spoke about these things, but I think the Holy Mother would likely have approved, because she did not like injustice of any kind being carried out. We're all her children, right? So if any of us are suffering, it's like her own children are suffering. So this was something that I think emanates from that same philosophy of love for all beings.
it is said that when Swami Vivekananda was in Chicago, he was shocked to see the beauty parlors. Is it? Basudha, you can tell some more better than to me that
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
when
yes.
he was in
conditions
America.
Actually, I heard it from my
and American women.
Yeah, because he was all of the fashions and the way people would like to dress and make
Yes,
themselves up. This was
yeah,
very foreign to him,
that
of course.
must.
So he was quite surprised by it, and he asked a lot of questions. He always had a very curious mind, and many of his close followers in the U.S. were women, and so he would ask them, why do women do all of this? And they would explain it to him, and we see some of that in some of his letters and lectures. He mentions some of these things, and I think it's interesting. We're talking about these enlightened beings who've come into our world, but they're also a product of their time and their culture, and they encounter something different, and they have the same surprise that most of us have. I know there's another story. This is about another great saint, Paramahansa Yogananda. When he came to the U.S., there's this meat dish that is popular in America. They call a hot dog, but it's not a dog, right? It has nothing to do with dogs. And he saw hot dogs being sold, and he thought, "Oh, they're eating dogs." He was horrified. And someone had to explain to him, "Oh, it's not a dog." So I think Swamiji, in much the same way, it was. I think he saw a lot in America that probably astonished him, and but he had a great love for the U.S. and I think he believed that if you could take the spiritual wisdom that he had grown up with in India and combine it with the sort of
actually my grandfather and uncle told
sorry.
Lost connection.
Oh, I think she got cut off, I'm afraid.
Mhm.
But, that he thought that if you could combine the sort of energetic life and, the as he called it, the Rajasic, approach to life in America, and you could fuse it with that wisdom, you could really transform the world. I think this is what he was aiming for, something with kind of Indian wisdom and American ingenuity and innovation, and combining that would create great things, and I think it has. I think we're just at the beginning, I believe, of the kind of global transformation that these figures set in motion. And then I wrote a book a few years ago on Hinduism in America, and just how um, through the teaching of people like Swami Vivekananda, like Yogananda, and many many more, that the civilization has undergone a subtle shift, and you can see this in the lives of individuals, of course, who are very close to this and very involved with it, but you can even see it more broadly in things like the Beatles music having Indian themes in it, or Vedantic themes in the teaching of the character Yoda in Star Wars, or popularity of yoga practice and things like that. All of this was set in motion by Swamiji through the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, and with the inspiration and support of the Holy Mother. So it's a project, I think, of transforming the world, really.
Sir, do you think Ma Sharada was actually not only a holy mother, she was actually a social reformer for all the
I think
Indians?
so. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Not in the conventional sense, right? She didn't stand up and give speeches. She didn't start organizations. But again, in this very subtle, behind the scenes way, she encouraged and sort of pushed the monks in the Ramakrishna order, Sister Nivedita, and others to engage in this work of transforming society, because she did oppose all kinds of injustice, because she wanted to uh, see the poor and the disadvantaged to have their lives improved and transformed in a better way through education, through, of course, just the basics, right? Providing food, shelter, people's basic security needs. These are things that people were lacking at that time. There were several famines in Bengal. And some of this was man-made. We have to admit that there were policies that the British undertook that actually increased the suffering very often of people in India. And so I think she was very aware of a lot of this. And we know this from things that she said and confided to people, which they wrote down. And historians like Professor Amiya Sen, for example, he's recently written a really wonderful book on the Holy Mother, and he elevates some of these things. He points out that she was a big part of the emphasis on seva, karma yoga, service to the poor, and working to uplift the society. She was a big part of that, constantly encouraging it. And I would say that and again, her sort of quiet, behind the scenes way, she was a very powerful social reformer. Uh, if you study the Chinese philosophy, the Tao Te Ching, there's a great chapter there which is talking about leadership. And the sage Lao Tzu he talks about three types of leader. He says, first, there is the bad leader. This is the leader that rules through fear. So people fear the leader, so they follow that leader. But as soon as they have the opportunity, they'll overthrow him, right? Then you have a better leader. That's the leader that leads through love. Everyone loves that leader, so they want to do what that leader says. But even that leader is not the best leader. He says the best leader is the one that no one even knows that person's name. But through their quiet activity in the background, the whole world is changed, and everyone thinks they did it on their own. And I think the Holy Mother was that type of leader, right? That she actually exerted a lot of the influence which led to many of the positive changes that the Ramakrishna mission, Ramakrishna order have contributed to through time. It was that, and now we're becoming aware. We're becoming aware 100 years later of her influence there. But it was very strong. Is it because everyone respected her so much, and the monks really followed her without question? She was their mother.
Sir, one thing happened today in Kolkata. There are more than 2 lakh people recited the Gitas, and these records were built today. So, what is your opinion about that?
Well, I think it's wonderful to recite the Gita as long as they understand what they're reading. I think that's the most important thing. I think taking it and transforming your life with it is most important. But yeah, you have to start with reading it and studying it. And so the more people studying these wonderful texts and getting that wisdom, I think the better. I'm very happy to hear that. And of course, some of these texts, like the Gita, the Sanskrit verses, there when you hear the recitation, they're even beyond the meaning. There's a power in the sound of the mantra, right? So listening to the verses, even without full understanding, can have a powerful effect on the mind. So I think 200,000 people, right, 2 lakh people doing that, I think must be a very powerful thing. I didn't know about that. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Actually, our brigade parade ground is famous for political rallies. But few days, it was became famous for Gita recitation program.
Right, became dedicated to the Gita for a few days. That's very good. Wonderful.
So, sir, you
Yes.
came to our channel and briefly tell us about Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, Sister Nivedita, and obviously about Holy Mother. So thank you, sir, again. And we'll invite you again in our other shows. So namaskar, friends.
Namaskar.
And please think
Merry
Tech India.
Christmas and Happy New Year to
And
everyone.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and happy Holy Mother Jayanti, which just passed. But and thank you all for
Kalpataru Day is coming. Kalpataru Day is coming.
yes, and
First,
Gita
first
Jayanti,
January.
of course. You were mentioning Gita recitation. Gita Jayanti was just there too. I suppose that's
Yes.
why they had it then. Yeah, very good. No, thank you for inviting me, and my best wishes to you both. Thank you all.
Praise the Lord, praise the Gita, Bhagavad Gita.
All right, amen.
And please watch Think Tank India. Please share, subscribe, like, and comment on our program.
Yes, very good.